Bucky's Basement. Bucky's Basement.
Welcome to this week's episode of Bucky's Basement. I'm Bucky, and as always in the basement with me today, I have Old Boy.
That's me.
And I have Juicebox.
Hi, fucking yeah.
And we are back in the cage for another episode of the infamous Casting Cage series that we've done here on Bucky's Basement. We have followed Nick for a while.
It feels like forever now. It feels like we're real close.
We're in 1993.
Close to what is what I want to know.
To Nick Cage.
Oh, okay. Close. I thought you meant close to the end. I'm like, no, we haven't even broke the mold here. We are in 1993 for this is going to blow your mind. I think it blew all three of our minds because let me preface this by saying that we're about to get into lighthearted Nick Cage over the next couple of episodes, guarding Tess and that one about a lottery ticket.
Oh, yeah.
And then, we might jump back off the rails, but I was excited for this because I know it's the last Nick Cage movie that I know I really haven't seen. And I've never even heard of.
Doubt you've seen it either.
Yeah.
Listenership.
I was excited for it because it's like we can see the genesis of the sample that we use for the worst movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, see the context of it. Because honestly, I just found that clip. I think we found it online when we were going through this, and we're like, that's the clip. But none of us had seen the movie that it came from.
None of us.
And if you guys don't know what Juicebox is talking about, if one of our Nick Cage movies in this experiment called Casting Cage gets the worst rating, the clip from that worst rating came from 1993's Christopher Coppola directed Deadfall.
Christopher Coppola also wrote it.
He did.
You can tell.
Deadfall, 1993. It's got a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's tough to do. They shot the moon.
This is the first time I think we've approached a movie like this, and I don't know if it was even entered in Rotten Tomatoes. But if you guys haven't seen Deadfall, we want to tell you where you can find it. I found it on the Roku channel and Roku TV. I think
I watched it on Plex.
You watched it on Plex
with commercials, which was terrible.
I watched it on the internet.
And Juicebox found it on the interwebs. So if you have Roku or Plex or anything like that, you can go out there and find Deadfall, which is surprising that you could find this movie and you couldn't find, Wild at Heart?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Wild at Heart is a masterpiece compared to this.
It's got to be like a rights thing or something, right?
Has to be right.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, real quick. I just have a quick question. All right, so this is 93. How long has Nick Cage been acting?
Since 84, right?
I thought 83 was
83. Valley Girl?
Valley Girl, right? Or
Yeah, we're not counting Fast Times. I
Okay.
think so. I guess that was
say
about
10
the 83, 84.
So it's been
10 years.
10 years, and it is so difficult to tell.
I don't think this is the movie to try to tell. This movie is, let's get into it.
Yeah.
But man,
I was
this
gonna
movie
say-
is a bit of an anomaly, I feel like.
Yeah.
I was going to say maybe it has to do with the direction of this movie. Because
lack of.
They've pulled out some good Nick Cage in the past, right? I think we've pulled out Raising Arizona. We've pulled out Vampire's Kiss. We've pulled out even Zandali. There's some stuff where you can just pull Nick Cage out of this regular person and just throw him into whatever he wants to do or create. And I think this time, the director allowed him to go in this direction where he was just testing the waters while the movie was being made. That's how I feel. And the reason he was allowed to do this is because the director of this film is one Christopher Coppola, who is Nick Cage's brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, after watching this movie, he is a dick of a brother. He acted like this in this movie. His brother's I don't know if it was his directorial debut, but I don't know. Your brother's directing a film and asks you to be in it, and you act like a total fucking this character.
Crazy.
Yeah, and if you want to know, it was his directorial debut, and I'm pretty sure this is the only shot he got at directing because the only film billed under IMDb for Christopher Coppola is Deadfall.
No shit. Did he have like TV direction or something after that, or is he just like no career at all?
No, if he did, it was just like individual episodes of some show. But this was his only directed film. But there's another thing that I kind of want to get into before we start going through the actors and our little segment called Plot by Juicebox. But under the main bill of the movie, like when you see Deadfall flash up on the screen, I rarely see who it was produced by and that name being so big before you even get into the actors. Before you even get into the direction or any of the other opening credits, a name flashed on the screen. It was Ted Fox.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, I definitely did. I took a note about that because it's like a Ted Fox production or whatever. It's like you said, it's the first thing you see. And also it feels like a lot of his family is involved in the movie because there's a lot of other people named Fox that are producers. Yeah. And like one person, I think the score was done by a Fox.
Mm-hmm. So I did some deep diving on Ted Fox because I already knew that I was in for a treat with this movie, and I felt like I had a little extra time to spend based on the opening scene, which we'll eventually get into. But Ted Fox has produced 51 films, and they all have something very interesting in common. The next note I wrote down was go through them on IMDb. So a lot of names have to, things in common, but let's just go through Ted Fox's most recent movie. We're going to go with the cast on this because this is where I find the interesting part of it. So in this movie, Robert De Niro, John Malkovich, and then a bunch of people you've never heard of, right? Savage Salvation, oh, whatever. Wire Room, Hot Seat, Fortress, Surviving the Game, Out of Death, Midnight in the Switchgrass, The Hard Kill, Force of Nature.
They sound like fast pitches.
They really do. That is 100% true. But every time you click on this, I just clicked on Force of Nature. This is Emile Hirsch, Mel Gibson, and a bunch of people you've never heard of. So I go through all 51 of these films, which it's a long time, right?
You have so much time.
I do have so much time. It is always two actors you've heard of, and then the rest of the cast costs nothing. In every single one of these action, thriller, suspense, movies that Ted Fox is doing, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. And then in Deadfall, he gets to put his name up at the top. Like that was a negotiation.
Yeah.
I think we're about.
He also made a cameo in the movie. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He was in the bar. He was like the other patron that was in the bar when they do pull their little con.
Okay.
He's like sitting at the bar. He almost looks like a young 20s dude.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
so stand-in.
Interesting, man. Y'all found some facts. I looked. I didn't find anything.
I did. Before we get into the plot of this movie and then go through it and eventually rate it, give our tagline, give our movie marriage. Let's get into the actors really quick. This movie stars Michael Biehn, who you might recognize from the Terminator movies.
Terminator.
He's also in Aliens.
Yep.
Aliens 3, Aliens 4, Aliens 5.
what?
However many they made.
He's not in all of those, right?
He's in 2, 3, 4. I don't know if he goes beyond that, but yes, he became big after I guess the first one. They said, Sigourney, you need somebody else in this movie that's going to carry this franchise. He's also in The Abyss. He's done, a couple of other movies. You guys might recognize Michael Biehn. I think he looks like the main guy in Airplane. If y'all remember that, like when this movie first opened, I thought it was very Airplane-ish, and we'll get into that, the way it's shot and everything.
Yes.
Also in this movie, obviously Nick Cage, who we're covering. He's Eddie. This is probably his most interesting role of this entire exercise we've been doing, right?
I mean, it feels like it's the one where he had the most freedom, right? Like he could do whatever he wanted. This and maybe Vampire's Kiss. It felt like he could do whatever he wanted in that movie. But
100% free reign.
In this, I think he goes through 7 different acting choices.
I wonder if he read his brother's script and he's like, hey, man, I'm going to play this role. I'm going to give this role some life.
So he did. He came in with the wig, with the fake nose, with the, I don't know if you noticed it, but he had like contacts that made his eyes look lighter than normal.
Right.
And he was like, this character would look like this or have like, that's all Nick Cage. He created that character.
100%.
We also have James Coburn, who plays the dad and his twin brother in this movie.
Yeah. Right.
Pretty, I guess, somewhat famous actor or something we remember from our childhood. Is this? He reminds me of the guy that's across the street in Pet Cemetery. That don't go down that road guy.
Don't go down that road. No. Yeah. What is he from? There's something he's from our childhood that sticks out.
It really does. Peter Fonda's in this movie.
Who is Peter Fonda?
I don't know.
He's at the very beginning. He's one of the people that's like with him on the first con that he does.
Is he the guy that tails him?
No, that's somebody else. I'm not
else.
sure who that is. Peter Fonda's like in the car. He's talking to him at the cemetery. He's got slicked back hair.
That is him. Okay, that's right.
He is like very forgettable, so it's not surprising that you don't remember who he is.
We also have a very young and very Charlie Sheen in this movie.
You're right.
Wearing a nice red jacket.
Snakeskin jacket. Do y'all think that was his snakeskin jacket?
Oh man, I bet it was Nick Cage's snakeskin
You think
jacket.
so? I bet Charlie Sheen had his own snakeskin jacket.
You think
Because
so?
he's starting to go on his own trajectory of, Charlie Sheen. We could almost do a Charlie Sheen podcast.
I want to get back into
don't know
Charlie
about that.
Sheen a little bit later on because I have a theory about Charlie Sheen and Deadfall specifically that completely changed the trajectory of his career. But let's get back into the final actress in this movie. Sarah Trigger plays Diane. Do you guys know about Sarah Trigger?
No, please learn me something.
You haven't.
Not a thing.
It's not just knowing; it's knowing what she's from. Do you remember anything that she would possibly be from?
I know that she's from PCU, but I had to look that up.
She
I
was
recognized her, but
she was a love interest in PCU.
Okay.
She was in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. She played one of the girlfriends at the end. She was in Kindergarten Cop, and she was in Over the Top or Big Top Pee Wee.
Big Top Pee Wee.
You remember any of those?
I mean, vaguely.
I've seen all of those.
I mean, I've seen half
multiple
of them.
times.
Okay, so Sarah Trigger was in 2 of those, and Penelope Ann Miller was in the other 2.
Are you baiting me?
I am baiting you because I was watching Deadfall, and she comes on the screen, and I was like, "Is that Schwarzenegger's like the kindergarten teacher across the hall?" Hold on, I was like, "Is that Pee Wee's love interest in Big Top Pee Wee? Is that the chick from PCU?" Turns out they're just like. The other phenomena that I'm obsessed with in film right now, or have been for a little bit of time, is the fact that there are certain actresses that act at the exact same time, and they look alike, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Welcome to
you know
Hollywood.
the most obvious one, right?
James Coburn and
actresses.
And his twin brother.
and his twin brother, James Coburn.
Come on, Juicebox, tell him one.
2 actresses that look alike?
That are acting at the same time, that people get confused all the time.
Isla Fisher and Amy Adams.
There you go. That's perfect.
2 that look together. Bryce Dallas Howard and Jessica Chastain.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Katy Perry and Zoe Deschanel.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
I think Sarah Trigger and Penelope Ann Miller were the original actresses that looked alike that were acting at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I doubt they were the original.
Yeah,
there's probably people in the 30s like
Sophia Loren, and those times she had a doppelganger.
Yeah. There was always somebody that looks like them, but they're slightly cheaper. So that's what the movies they get.
That's right.
Yep.
I'll have to look this up in my spare time. So I'll do this later.
So never.
I'll do that later.
So let's get into Deadfall. We are talking about what I wrote down as a terrible description of this movie, a twisty-turvy con movie where every scene is potentially a con in this entire film. But before we get into the plot and kind of go through the movie Deadfall from 1993, we have a segment we like to do on Bucky's Basement, especially the Casting Cage series called
Plot by Juicebox.
Deadfall. After he accidentally kills his father, Mike, during a sting, Joe tries to carry out Mike's dying wish by recovering valuables that Mike's twin brother, Lou, stole from him years earlier. But Uncle Lou is also a confidence artist, and Joe is soon drawn into his increasingly dangerous schemes.
That's perfect.
Yeah, how many times can you say Mike in the description?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the plot of Deadfall as written by, the guys who wrote it or wanted to market it. But let's let our local expert here on Bucky's Basement read what his plot would be for the movie Deadfall.
Mine's pretty simple. Deadfall. Kyle Reese comes back from the future to pull one last con with the help of a couple of twins.
It's so much better. It's so
Every
much
movie
better.
from 1992 to 1994, all wrapped up in one. Okay, so let's get into Deadfall. Opening scene. We're looking at kind of a drug deal. We don't know it's a con movie yet. So we assume that this is a drug deal. I said immediately, I wrote immediately this movie is going to be the worst movie we have to watch doing this.
It opens so slow and the narration is so flat.
Oh my God. Yeah, the exposition is the worst because that dude, I mean, he has no life reading it at all.
Yeah.
I said the shadowing in the filming of this looks like it's meant for stage.
Yeah.
It was not meant for an actual film.
It was some low budget sets for sure.
The cameramen are the worst. It's so cheap looking. It just keeps cutting to the wrong camera at the wrong time. I don't know. It opened, and I've said this to you guys. It opened very Airplane-ish for me. Like if you go back and watch the movie Airplane, what is that? Starring Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it's just like the shadowing on that, the airplane shots that they were shooting are the individual scenes where they're trying to tell jokes, and it was more about the jokes than the actual filming of the movie. They got this wrong because this is an entire action scene in a back alley about a drug deal going down.
Yeah.
And it looks so bad.
Yeah.
It looks worse than fucking soap opera bad.
So it is. It's rough.
We could do something better than this. I guarantee it.
We have done something better than this.
Yeah. I think also the writing hurts it too because it's like the most cliche drug deal ever. There's nothing imaginative about it at all. It's like as soon as the scenes start, you're like, okay, I've seen this in 100 fucking movies.
Right.
And it would make sense if this was in the 70s or early 80s, but this is 1993 when blockbusters and disaster movies are coming out and fucking Forrest Gump is 6 months, on the horizon. And you've got Deadfall. You've got Nick Cage that has already done movies like, Raising Arizona, we've said, Vampire's Kiss,
Honeymoon
in Vegas. He's been famous. He's been on the silver screen, and I think he's just doing his brother a solid.
I mean,
but not really.
Not really.
But yeah.
Instead, he just kills his career forever.
So back to the story. No, he doesn't. But there is somebody in this movie who does, and I'm going to get into that. Okay. Back to the movie, Joe is in an organized sting. Joe is Michael Biehn, the main character, but has real bullets instead of blanks in this sting and kills his dad. Right, opening scene, just kills his dad.
So
his dad dies hilariously. His death acting is so. Oh my God.
Yeah. There's a lot of them in this.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad acting, but that acting was especially bad.
All right, and we should set up the con. So Joe, the main character, has some mark that's giving him money, and they're going to take it to a drug deal. So he's got the guy's money. They make the switch, but then at the very last moment, Joe's like, "It's a sting operation. Run!" And there's a shootout, and then meanwhile, the mark escapes, thinking, "Oh shit, I better get the hell out of here." And the people putting on the con run off with the money and whatever the drugs or whatever the goods are, right? And once the mark runs off, they all get up and they're like, great, we took off, we scored. Mm-hmm. But in this operation, they shot blanks, which they used squibs some people got shot. So this whole setup is pretty elaborate.
Yeah. Their con has better effects than this movie actually has.
Correct.
Right.
The thought behind it.
Yeah.
They had squibs that made it look like real gunshots. But anyway, our boy, we find out, did not have blanks in the gun, had real bullets, and shot his own father, who is the drug dealer.
Yep. Fast forward to and rewind what Juicebox said about overacting, because the very next scene we see Joe in a hotel room talking to a confidant of his dad, and that is where overacting makes its appearance, because when he is drunk in his whitey tighties on the floor. And said, "There's no way, I never would have made a mistake like that," and leans over. And speaking of that, I just want to give a shout out to the OG Austin Nichols Wild Turkey, because it makes a whole lot of appearances in this movie.
Yeah.
Almost as if Wild Turkey had something to do with the money that went into this film.
I'm going to say Wild Turkey and Budweiser both had a sponsorship with this.
You're right. Oh, God, the Budweiser.
Yep. So Joe kills his dad, and then he is on a mission because he finds out that, his dad's twin brother stole some money from him, things back in the day.
His dying words were, "My brother took the cake." All right.
Yeah.
And that's that's the MacGuffin. That's what sets him off.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But so after he, goes through the depression of killing his dad, he jumps on a bus to go cross country, I guess.
Yeah.
To California.
He also, one of the things his dad he had a wallet and a bus terminal key. And that's
Right.
like quintessential 80s and 90s thing, was either an airport locker key or a bus terminal key.
That's
It's like
true.
the shit was always hidden there.
Always. And that is true. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is all your dad had." And it's like, of course he's going to go check that shit out.
So welcome back to trying to get to his dad's twin brother on a bus with the first cringe I had of the entire film. Because I let the beginning ride out.
Wait a minute. We didn't even talk about the Mark at the drug deal scene. The Mark tests the coke.
Yeah.
Remember? And he dipped his hand in it like it was like some mashed potatoes. And it was so much coke in his mouth for a numbie, dude. I'm sorry. Anyway.
So I guess one other thing too, part of their con is they still have to buy a giant fucking bag of cocaine.
Real coke.
To do the deal.
That's right. Anyway, sorry. It's just, we're going to point out a lot of weird things in this movie.
There's a lot of weird things. Speaking of, what I've been trying to get to is the voiceover on the bus. When he is kind of explaining to the audience, the little backstory of what just happened in that opening scene.
Yeah.
Explaining, I guess, why he's going, or, the past history of his uncle and why he's going to California. And then when he gets there, he gets to meet our love interest, I guess, in this entire series, which is one.
What's her name? Michelle Trigger?
No, I was going to say Nick Cage / used car salesman / coked out / hairpiece / high eyes / Uncle Rico / what is this? Because those are all the notes that I wrote down on here.
He looks like an Andy Kaufman character.
He really does. That's right. That's
he looks like and he's putting on it just from the get-go. He's distracting. You're like, what is going on with this dude?
His suit's weird. Everything about him is weird.
Yeah, he's just. I think he's trying to portray some tweaker, but he's not doing a good job. He's just a weird. His accent is so fucking weird, and I wrote it down later. But do y'all think he's trying ventriloquism? Because he doesn't move his mouth a lot when he's talking. And I'm like,
true.
Is he trying to be a ventriloquist?
I don't know. I don't know. We like to say to you guys what our notes are because they remind us why we wrote them down.
Right.
I have one that's marked out. It says, it's like when Brad Pitt did, and then I marked it out and wrote, whoa, new accent, weird accent. It's like when Nick Cage opened his mouth, I completely lost my train of thought.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this one is the craziest. I would go out on a limb to say that this is the wildest accent that we have heard in the 15 movies we've reviewed so far.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even know if it's an accent. It's like he's just talking with his mouth shut.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't move his teeth. But yeah, I don't even know what to say about it.
Well, we meet the con artist group, and I was like, there's this group
Right.
of con artists out in L.A.
Joe
that are
arrives in
yeah.
Santa Monica, and like he notices people passing around a number, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
My note right there was like, oh shit, Samson Simpson's in this film. It's also got in that scene is also I don't know if you guys even know who it is, but one of the dudes from the band the Monkees, like back in the day, Mickey
Monkees, but-
Dolenz, I think his name, or Mickey something like that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's one of the scammers also.
I just wrote down, "This is awesome," and then we get to the gum kind of quote, or like we find out that Michael Biehn, I guess, is supposed to be like Nick Cage is his uncle's right hand man. Michael Biehn's hanging out with him, about to be, taken to his uncle because that's who he's looking for.
Yeah.
So he asked this waiter, and the waiter asked like the owner of the hot dog restaurant or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
And then Nick Cage just comes out of the background from a table behind him. Hey, friend, pick a card. There was that theme through this thing where every card in there was jokers, like we found out later in the movie. But I don't.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to make sense of it because you can tell it's just made up in Nick Cage's mind, and his brother just shot it, I guess.
But it's like Nick Cage is showing off for Michael Biehn, like the first time, like he knows that he knew his uncle, or he's the nephew,
right?
So he's like showing off. So the next like series of things you get from Nick Cage are pretty incredible. And I'm gonna fast forward him, and then we're gonna slow him down. Is the accent that you first encounter with the gum quote? The strip club scene, the huffing in the car, like it just like 1, 2, 3, like he wants to show him exactly what he's about, and he's about that life.
What is that life?
He's trying to be like gangster.
But is that gangster? Like,
According to this guy, it is. And according to Nick Cage's version of this guy.
Let's give you guys a sample out there, because I know you haven't seen Deadfall, but you're dying to go see it.
You haven't seen Deadfall.
Of what Nick Cage's accent is like, because you're going to hear this a lot through this podcast.
Yeah, this is a little super cut of some of the stuff when they were first in the car together.
Lord, I'm free. Couple of years, friend. Couple of beautiful years. You know, for a guy that just drove into town, you're sure asking an awful lot of questions. My girl's coming along. You don't mind, do you, friend? I'm kind of feeling all tongue-tied. I just don't know what to start. I wanted to... Oh, shucks, here. Well, now that we're all one big happy family, what do you say we have some fun time, family fun? You think you can handle it, friend?
That scene where he's like, aw shucks, where he's like giving the bouquet to his girlfriend or whatever, that is like the weirdest scene ever. Like he is just like a cartoon character in that scene.
Cringy. Yeah, it is weird.
Yep. So next we find ourselves in the strip club. Is that where we meet Diane?
No, they pick her up at her house, and then they pick her up, and she's wearing a red dress, and I'm like, okay.
But he was Nick Cage was huffing something before they went and picked her up, right?
I don't know.
I can't remember if he was, or I thought he was doing that later on when he snorted a little vial or whatever.
Right.
Whatever it was, it seemed to it was like that VCR cleaner.
Poppers.
Yeah. So I guess that's when we meet Diane.
And she comes out, she's wearing a red dress, which is also like a movie trope, right? Woman in distress. So you've got, and then they're like, all right, we're going to go do a little con.
Yeah.
And then they go to a bar to do a little con, I guess to like test him out to see if he's like,
that was just their way
shit.
of having fun, because I think that's what they said there in the car is like, let's go have some family fun or whatever.
Oh,
so
that's
that was
right.
Just like a little, but
Nick Cage
maybe
gets high. Nick Cage, yeah, they said that too. Nick Cage just gets off on the con, and
I like the idea that this is like Joe's test, though.
okay.
Because Diane obviously does it all the time, and Eddie does it all the time. Like
and
this is what they do.
So they go to just some hole in the wall bar and run this con where Nick Cage and Diane, like they're showing off all this money and jewelry, and then they get up and they leave the bar, and meanwhile Joe goes into the bathroom or the phone booth, comes out, finds like a bracelet of hers. The bartender knows how expensive it is, and like, hey, I'll buy it off of you. And then he's like, sure. he takes the money. They never see him again because it's a trinket, not a real fucking piece of jewelry.
Also, a great con prior to cell phones.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because you give a phone number and the phone number is disconnected. What are you going to do then? Run out of the bar and chase them down?
Yep. She knew as soon as she called that number, she got conned.
Yep.
You know who the bartender is, right?
No.
Adrian.
Yeah.
Oh, was it really?
I think, yeah, and Connie from the Godfather, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't pick up on that.
So
this movie has like some people in it.
it does.
But it's just, man, they just don't put it together.
Nope. It's like a lot of people called in favors to do this movie. I feel
Because
like.
of Christopher Coppola.
Yeah, that's probably it.
I'm telling you. So the next thing I have written down is the extended sex scene with the PCU chick. You got something other than that before that?
No, I don't have anything before that, but I made a note about the sex scene also.
Yeah, basically what's going down is Diane was, I guess, Eddie's girlfriend, and then Joe just swoops in and just like steals her because she realizes Eddie's an idiot.
I mean, she initiates the whole thing.
Big
She's
time.
conning
Well, yeah.
him. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That
And-
makes more sense.
And
because they hook. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
They hook up like what 3-4 hours after they first meet. Like it's still the same day. It's just later on that day.
Yeah, and she even says she doesn't sleep with Eddie.
Okay.
So
Well,
Which
she
is
does
like, what?
sleep with Joe because
quick, yeah.
the extended sex scene, I put, again, with the PCU chick, I wrote this is the director's entire motivation for making this film.
You think
I
so?
mean,
The amount of work and the change in the cinematography and everything was like targeted towards this sex scene, I think. Everything just like looked, nicer, I guess.
I mean, it looked nicer. It was pretty graphic for like this type of movie sex scene, and it was long. It was so
long.
fucking long.
It was long.
Very long. And then we found out Nick Cage gets pissed. So we're about to get one of the greatest sound clips that we've used throughout this entire series. But, he finds out about, them sleeping together, right? And then he's at the strip club.
He doesn't find out though, right? Like he just the baby or whatever at the dude that owns the strip club or whatever
Right.
just puts the idea in his head because he's like, he paid him off or whatever. He gave Uncle Lou his own money instead of getting the money. He was pulling his own scheme there,
You're
like you
right,
said,
yeah.
a scheme in every scene.
You're
Okay,
right.
that's right. So Baby causes him to basically he doesn't kick him out, but causes him to throw a Nick Cage fit. We see it a
Right,
couple times in this
right.
movie.
Yeah.
In that Nick Cage fit, he's walking out of the strip club right before he murders a guy in an alley. But then
Right,
we
but-
hear the greatest of all time.
We also
Right.
get right after that he like beats the shit out of a random dude that's like coming in the
You're
bar,
right.
and he's like kicks his ass, and he finishes with this.
It's so
So
He is in a mood.
it's
that is so Nick Cage.
and we haven't even talked about how he drinks a beer.
Oh, that got him. It's another thing. It's like
It
how
is a
he what
thing.
is it? How he ate the food in Peggy Sue? How he drank like whatever? And
Is it just because he has like fake teeth like all the time now or something, or
don't
like
know.
only in these movies he has fake teeth or what? Because I couldn't tell if he had fake teeth or not in this movie, but they seemed a little weird.
Yeah.
it
I
almost
don't
seemed
know.
like he was like convulsing when he was drinking the beer, and it was like going in his mouth. And he was spitting it back in the bottle at the same time. Like
Yeah.
it
Ugh.
it was not a chug.
Or every time he drank, he's like, I'm just gonna do this in one drink. Like I'm never like, it's not a chug, but it's also like he doesn't quit drinking.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So I think he goes out into the alley, and there's a hit put out on him, I guess.
Yeah, real quick though, jump back to the fuck. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but there's a dude in the background with a shirt that says fuck on it as he's like screaming fuck.
I did not see that.
did
It's
not see that.
like it's so random and so weird.
Wow.
Anyway,
Interesting.
So anyway, to progress the story, it seems like there's a hit put out on Nick Cage's character Eddie. The guy really loves juju beads.
Good and plenty's.
Good and
Or good?
plenty's.
Is that what it was?
It's
I thought
good
it was Tic Tacs at first. I wrote down Tic Tacs.
It's good and plenty's.
Good and plenty's.
Yep.
So
Which is gross.
a little fight ensues. Nick Cage slits that throat, and then you see the good and plenty's come out like almost to the screen with the camera laying on the ground. It's a great shot.
Yeah,
It was a memorable
Best
shot.
shot of the film.
we got a clip of that. That scene was great.
Get up, bitch! Oh, come on, bitch! All right! Okay, baby girl! Who sent ya? Who sent ya? Sam fucking Beckenbauer!
That was the good and plenty's falling out onto the concrete.
They're also ripping off that psycho music
Yeah.
in the background.
So,
good.
okay, I had to look it up. Sam Peckinpah is like a filmmaker.
Yeah, he did westerns, right?
Okay, I did not understand like what that reference was. at
No
all.
clue. No clue.
Okay, I didn't know if I just missed something earlier. Maybe
I had
maybe
no idea
I don't know.
either.
All right, so picking back up in Deadfall, the next thing we see is Nick Cage throwing another fit, yet another fit, because he thinks Diane is cheating on him with Lou, and goes to visit Lou to confront him.
Real quick, when he kills that guy's been tailing Joe. So we never really learn. I guess maybe later, I guess you kind of piece it together, but we never really learned that guy's role, right?
No, you don't. Because yeah, that's right. He was tailing Joe.
Yeah, he was tailing Joe, but then ends up killing Eddie. And it's like, what? What is going on?
There's a lot of things
Yeah,
you don't
anyway,
understand because it's
yeah.
about to accelerate pretty fast.
Yes, you're right. It goes
Like characters come in and out. It's just like they were just warming us up for the second half of this film, because again, Nick Cage goes and confronts Joe or Lou. Sorry.
But before he does that, though, he goes back to his girlfriend's place and has like a confrontation with her. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
What am I, a fucking retard, man? Am I a fucking retard, huh? I know what this is. Lou trying to stop me out because of his crazy little nephew being around. Well, vive la fucking France, man!
He has that weird laugh at the end. That's so good because that scene is like shot so weird. There's so many weird shots in this film, but that one's like all kind of like close to him, so he's totally out of focus, and you can just see his the girl or whatever, and he's like going on that rant.
Do you think he read his brother's script? He's like, listen, I'm gonna put this character over the top. And do you think in Nick Cage's mind, he's like, man, if this movie takes off, my role, like I'll always be known for this role? Or do you think he just like torpedoed the shit out of this movie with that role? Because that's what it feels like.
I honestly am kind of starting to think he does not give a fuck. Like, what if the movie's good or bad, he's just going to be in this movie. And if he like kind of likes the script, or if he's getting paid, or I mean, maybe, who knows? Like, it just seems like he just doesn't give a fuck if the movie's successful or not. He just keeps on being in movies, keeps on doing his own thing.
See, I think he starts to give a fuck after this. I think again, I'm going to say this again. He did his brother a solid for his little fucking indie film that he wanted to make or whatever.
Yeah.
Be like a big time
It
director because
had a $10 million budget. I don't
because
think
you
it's an
talk about
indie film.
nepotism all the time. I feel like this was Christopher Coppola's like nepotism. Like I can make a fucking movie because that's my last name. And Nick Cage was like, well, fuck it, I'll be in it. I'll call up, Mike. I'll call up Michael. I'll call up James and Peter and Charlie. And
Did he
say,
get paid for it?
I don't know. I read a weird stat that it could be completely wrong. It said this made $17,500 at the box
I
office.
read that too, man.
Yeah, I saw 18,000, but yeah.
18,000. That's like they paid to go see it.
No,
Yeah.
it was only released in like Hollywood.
Oh man.
See, you saw a $10 million budget.
I think I saw 10 million.
I saw a $3 million budget,
million,
but that was
okay.
estimated, so who knows?
It's still, you made 18 grand in the theater.
Yeah.
Man, that is tough.
It made $9,000 the opening weekend.
Holy shit. And it had these big names in it. But let's get back to the movie, because the next thing we see in this movie is one of my favorite parts, and probably where a lot of this budget went into, was Nick Cage's altercation with Michael Baine's character and the face in the Friar death.
This scene, and like the whole scene, is great. The confrontation with him and Lou leading up into their fight over the deep fryer.
The deep fryer.
Dude, and his face coming out of the fryer and the extended shot of another laying down camera facing up at like Lou and Michael Bain with Nick Cage like trying not to breathe.
Yeah.
Like, you could just be like, man, he's been holding his breath for a while in this shot.
Dude, I wrote down that has to be the worst way to die.
It would
Your
be
face
terrible.
into a fryer has to be like, what's worse than that? Honestly.
I don't know, man.
That's worse than drowning because that's drowning and burning at the same time.
Yeah, you're drowning in hot oil.
Like dual death. That's like faces. Like this seems straight out of a Faces of Death or Worst Ways to Die. Or
But it's also like Nick Cage took Lou out of his office and started the fryer. He started the fryer.
That's true.
It was like
because that was his plan. I think he was going to put Lou's face in that fryer.
right. He was, but I mean, he went through all those steps and was like hanging out over there in like the carnival or like the restaurant area of whatever this boardwalk thing is.
Yep. I wrote down there's still 39 minutes left in this movie at this
Yes.
point, not this podcast. We're going to
Hopefully
try to
not.
speed it up a little bit for you guys.
And
but
Nick
with
Cage had a hairpiece.
Oh yeah, the hairpiece ripping off before he died.
like,
what do you mean?
anyway.
And Nick Cage had a hairpiece.
I mean,
you knew it from
you
the
knew
beginning.
he has a hairpiece, but is his character supposed to have a hairpiece?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
But
all
that,
right.
I think that was part of the whole
The whole
gimmick.
thing.
I put there's still 39 minutes left in this movie, so let's bury Eddie and drink some more wild turkey. Because that's exactly what we find is the 7th shot of Austin Nichols' wild turkey at this point. I don't know why I was obsessed with writing that down.
All right.
Good eye.
Yeah, so then we move on to, we bury one character and then we birth another because we're about to get into kind of the craziness of this movie. If you didn't think it was crazy already out there, when we go to the billiards hall, not pool hall.
Right. Yeah, we need to back up because all right, so they kill Eddie and then now his uncle is like, we're gonna pull off the big heist. And I don't understand
Which is
go
the
ahead.
same con that he was doing with his dad, right?
Right.
Their heist and con or whatever is the exact same plan.
Right. Yeah, more or less. But they have to get this guy interested to put up money, right? So Joe goes to a billiards hall to get this guy interested, and he just walks in, and he walks up to the guy behind the bar, and he's just like, what's he say? He just says billiards. And the guy gives him some balls, and he goes to a table, puts $1,000 on the table, and immediately gets picked up by the local shark.
Yeah, I feel like it was like an undercover cop just trying
It
to...
was so blatant and obvious, and like he just parked right out front, walked in with his own like stick and all the shit.
Yep. I was before this was completely ignorant to the game of billiards.
Same. I wrote down, what the fuck are they playing?
I said, what fucking pool hall doesn't have tables with pockets? What game is this? And now I have educated myself, thanks to the 1993 film Deadfall, as to what billiards is. More specifically, I think it's called quorum billiards, where there are no pockets. And the object of the game is you have a cue ball and you have a red ball and a yellow ball. And the object of the game is to hit the cue ball and hit the red and the yellow ball in the same shot, and you gain a point. There are no pockets on the edges. What I have learned is that this place down the street from Bucky's basement called J.O.B. has
Right.
been fucking lying to us for about 30 years because it says billiards on the side and there is not a single billiards table in J.O.B.
You know that for a fact.
I know that for what?
All right.
Wait a
Well,
minute. The bartender has a
that-
gun on his hip, so I don't know that for a fact. In case
Okay.
they're listening, I'm pretty sure I've been in there and I've never seen a pool table without pockets in my entire life. I don't think I've
All
ever
right.
seen a pool
Let
table.
me ask you
without
another
I don't
question.
think I have either.
Let me ask you another question. Have you ever walked up to the bar and said billiards?
pockets. I have not. Maybe I'm going to try
Maybe
that.
you need to try that.
And all of a sudden, a dude wearing a snakeskin jacket will appear, ready to play.
Yeah, and he'll pull the blanket off this table and be like, "This is the fucking billiards table, bro."
And it is Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Who loves to snap when he says something he likes.
Yes, he does. He's very snappy. I don't know. I guess he's cool. I mean, he talks kind of cool.
Yep.
And it's such a waste that we don't get a Nick Cage and Charlie Sheen scene.
No kidding.
It really is.
Charlie's-
They don't overlap.
Nothing. Yeah.
It's almost like Charlie Sheen is reincarnated from Nick Cage's death.
They needed another character to bring in for sure.
Charlie Sheen has a cocaine pinky, which I was like, whoa, they're just not even hiding it, Charlie Sheen. Just right out
Yeah,
there.
that was not the character.
What if he's always had that and we just never noticed it?
I don't know. So the goal for Joe here is to get Charlie Sheen's, to tell him where. What's the claw hand dude? Like, what's
Doctor
his name?
No.
I can't remember. I just wrote down Scissorhands.
So he's supposed to go see is this guy with the claw hand, which when he was opening that claw, it just looked like that wouldn't even hurt.
It
he
didn't
was
look like it closed all the
intimidating.
way, right?
Right.
That's another
looks like a
weird
kid.
character in this movie.
Super weird. I was like, is that Dr. Satan at first? And then I was like, we're getting a Dr. Satan moment. I want to point out something real quick before he walks back there. Joe, the guy who's trying to pull this con off, uses his own name, Joe. And I'm like, I don't think that's smart.
Like
Joe.
in third person?
No, yeah, well, they're calling him Joe. And I mean, Joe may not be his real name, but he's going by fucking Joe. And I'm like,
Yeah,
shouldn't
he's
he
not
go-
even trying to be like hide as who he is.
Right. Sorry. All right. They get in the back room. So the whole point was to lose this billiards game just to get into the back room to show Dr. Satan a large diamond.
Yes.
That is real, by the way.
That is real.
That is real. That's worth fucking 20 times what he just lost the fucking game for.
Sure.
So,
Knowing that this con is going to continue, Dr. Satan wants to buy
More of
some
these.
of this diamond he's hadn't seen in 50 years or
Right.
whatever, or the cut or whatever.
Yeah.
So he negotiates, and then we go back to a hotel because he says, "Okay,
Right.
well, I'll do it. You bring me the diamonds, I'll bring you the money.
right.
We'll
set
meet
it up. Set it up, Joe.
And then we see another hotel scene with Joe and Diane.
Right.
Because he comes back in the hotel and they start going at it again. And my only note for this whole scene is this girl ain't got shit on Lula.
Okay. Lula. Yeah.
I felt like it was very similar. You see a lot of sex scenes in Wild at Heart. You see a lot of hotel sex scenes in Wild at Heart.
Right.
And all I could think about was
Laura Dern's. All
That's
right.
it.
I got it. I understand.
I mean, yeah, superior actor, superior movie.
I always loved
True.
Sarah Trigger in PCU. I was like, kind of in that age group, and I was like, man, she's like some girl I would like to take home to mom or whatever. And now it's Laura Dern.
You're going to take Laura Dern home to your mom?
I would, 100%.
With the accent?
Not now, but like 1991.
What's wrong with Laura Dern's now?
I don't know if she could be my mom. I have no idea.
All right. All right. So Dr. Satan has some henchmen I want to point out. Don't they look like Bebop and Rocksteady before they mutated?
Yeah.
Like they look like the most low-level henchmen of all time.
It was very low-hanging fruit.
Meanwhile, he's got Dr. Satan or this Bond villain looking dude has this arm that's complete sci-fi. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
This was like borderline a David Lynch character, I feel like.
Right. He is getting rock hard over these diamonds and like talking about it, and it's the quality. It's so strange.
The next thing we see is the heist planning scene, because they're going to move a lot of diamonds. A couple of
Right.
them are going to be real, a bunch of them are going to be fake. We're going to switch some money over. We're going to do it here. The heist planning scene, great shot, by the way, directorial. Because it moves in a circle around all of the people that are going to be involved in this heist, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I wrote, this is like Reservoir Dogs meets
Right.
That 70s Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just cheap.
You're right.
But there's like a black background. I just don't understand it all.
Yeah.
But
They just had no money for a set, so they just shot it all with black in the background.
it was
Yeah.
interesting.
It was
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, it was.
All right, so then you guys can carry me home on this one as far as the heist goes and how this thing ends.
So the setup is Dr. Satan and it arrives to the deal, and then you got Joe who's facilitating the deal between Dr. Satan and his uncle Lou, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The twin brother of his dad who he shot in the beginning of this film.
Right.
Very important.
So the deal's going down just like it did before, right? So he's got the money, he's going up, he's making the drug deal for Dr. Satan, or the diamond deal.
Yeah.
And he yells out, "It's a sting operation." He's got
wearing a wire.
He's wearing a wire. The guy's got like a wire like hanging out of his sleeve or something. It's like, get them, shut up. So, all right, gunfight ensues. He pulls his gun on his uncle, right? Because this is where the fake gunshots come in. And he gets cold feet and he can't do it.
Because he killed his dad.
Yeah, because he killed his dad. So he can't, he pauses. And when he pauses, somebody comes in and Bebop blasts his dad or his uncle.
Yeah.
Smokes his ass. And then everybody's getting shot up. So I'm a little fuzzy. They run off. He grabs the money and the diamonds and runs off.
And then
Yeah, he runs off, right? He gets the suitcase of money, like gets the fuck out of there, ends up in like a carousel, circus, indoor carousel. And in there, he runs into Diane, who gives up the game and's like, "Yeah, I've been fucking around with you." And then out of the shadows comes his real dad, who he didn't kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the long con.
The long con.
That's what you call it, the long con.
That is the long con.
Yep.
I'm
pretty intense. Music was intense. The carousel was,
It's okay.
It was all shot like the rest of it.
It was terrible.
And
Yeah,
that
terrible.
is this week's episode of Casting Cage called Deadfall.
well, he
I know we have a
Yeah.
lot more. We have a couple of more things to cover, but
that's it.
That's,
I mean,
that's
and
the movie.
he's like, "You know what? I don't want the money," and that's it. He just gets off the carousel and he lights a cigarette and he's kind of like, "Huh."
Which I kind of get, but at the same time, take that fucking money. Split that money, you idiot.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
you've already pulled the con. Like, you've already done it all. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
The way the credits start rolling right then,
Right
like,
then.
right, like when it happens and it pans out from the carousel or whatever we're looking at.
yeah.
That's a pretty crazy ending to the movie Deadfall.
It's the dumbest ending.
Yeah. So let's go on and get to a couple of different segments that we do here on Bucky's Basement, especially Casting Cage. The first one is Movie Marriage. It's where we take two movies that inspired this film,
Right.
and we put them together and we make them procreate and have the 1993 film Deadfall.
Yep.
I'm going to go first here because I think
go
that I
for it.
might have nailed this, but I also think that you might have stolen some of the, or like you
Stolen
have
it.
the same answer. You might
Okay.
have the same answer.
All right, hit me.
I'm going to go, like I said, in the initial thing it's shot, it reminds me of the movie Airplane, and I'm just going to go ahead and plug in The Sting.
Boom.
It was
Yep.
easy, right?
The Sting is one of mine
This
too.
is like a spoof Sting.
Yeah.
That's a good. Okay. Yeah. Sting. I definitely have the Sting. And originally I put the Sting and the Naked Gun, which is also very Airplane-ish, right?
Yep.
It's like, it's so comical. It's almost slapstick.
But it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be, and that's what. Yeah.
I kind of have a theory about that. Like, it's unintentionally a parody of a noir film. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, and
Yeah.
especially it's so much more evident coming off of watching Red Rock West, which is like
Right.
a true like neo noir film.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that movie was legit. This is coming off like a Hot Shots or a Naked Gun version of a noir film.
Dude, it's so funny. I wrote, it's a noir film for people who don't like noir or film.
So I also have the Sting in my movie Marriage. The other one I put was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Okay.
Because I feel like
Diamond.
that's kind of Diamond's scheme. There's a voiceover. I think there's a voiceover in that. I can't remember for sure. But I also put the asterisk if they were made for TV movies.
Okay, that's fair. I switched the Naked Gun and put Who Framed Roger Rabbit after the
That makes a lot
The
of sense.
face melting scene. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there we go. A little acid.
Yeah, a little acid.
Yeah. Love that. Another thing we do on Bucky's Basement is the tagline. It's where we take the original tagline from the film Deadfall. And you guys have seen these on movie posters throughout history. You've heard them on movie previews, you know, the voiceovers of the guys who do it. So we take the tagline and then we create our own. Juicebox, what is the tagline for 1993's Deadfall?
There are actually 2 taglines for it.
You're
All right.
Yeah.
The first one, Deadfall, the ultimate con.
Okay. Yeah. It's like they stole that from a big movie.
On the audience.
Deadfall. You won't know who to trust, what to believe, or where to run.
You won't know where to run. Okay. All right.
Or who to trust, or...
Okay. Yeah. Or what to believe. Okay.
The first time I watched this movie all the way through, I just wrote down Deadfall. Huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a con. Like, I watched it all the way through the first time, and I might have been a little loose, but I didn't know it was a con until the second and third times I watched it.
You didn't know what was a con.
The movie, like, just everything was...
Were
I
you-
was so focused on the fucking terrible cinematography. I didn't know what was going on in the movie. I was listening to lines and looking at the movie.
Were you under the influence?
I'm always under the influence.
Okay.
What
All
do you
right.
got?
Deadfall. Just a couple of hours, friend. That's my Nick Cage ventriloquist attempt. I got more, but go ahead.
Deadfall.
Hi, fucking yeah!
I'm sorry.
good one.
I just love that sound.
Hi, fucking yeah. Deadfall. Don't trust the person that recommended this movie.
That's us.
No, we're not I don't know. We haven't got to the rating.
Deadfall. Wild Turkey reminds you to please drink responsibly.
Before we jump out of this, I want to bring up, like I usually do, some of the other movies you could have seen when this movie had its technically opening weekend, even though I guess it was like a limited release, right? From what we understand, it was limited, like just in LA or something.
No, I just made that up because it only made $18,000 at the box office.
So it had to have been a very limited like release
Right.
though to make that little bit of money. So anyway, the same weekend that this allegedly came out in the theater, you could have seen Demolition Man, Cool Runnings, The Good Son, The Joy Luck Club, I'm not sure what that is, The Program,
Yes.
A Bronx Tale, The Fugitive,
Yes.
Hocus Pocus, and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs like
Re-release.
re-release.
It's like my whole childhood.
I mean, yeah, I've seen the majority of those.
Yeah.
The Good Son, so good. Cool Runnings, Fugitive.
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man was 93. Holy shit.
Demolition Man. You guys, I mean, not that it's related, but do you want to guess how much money Demolition Man made opening weekend?
16 million.
I was there. I probably wasn't there in 93. No, I was like 10, 11.
You were
I was at Taco Bell getting those kids
collector's
meals.
cups. Got a collector's cup of Wesley Snipes.
Speaking of that, I've got a Demolition Man pinball machine in Bucky's basement. But tell
You
us,
do.
what did Demolition do opening weekend?
14 million. You were close.
I was close.
14.
Young Sandra Bullock, before she got all,
And then you had John Candy's Cool Runnings. And The Fugitive. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
It was the one-armed man.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Fugitive had already been out for 10 weeks at that point.
Wow.
Oh, that was a banger that year. That's
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones and
Yeah.
Harrison Ford. They're on the map at that point.
It had made, in its 10th week, it had made $169 million, which is a lot of money for back in the day.
That's a profit.
Man, good for them.
All right, so let's go ahead and rate this thing. I'm going to let one of you guys pick because I have a feeling that for the second time ever that we could all possibly be on the same page. For the 1993 film Deadfall, we're going to let Juicebox play the honors here.
It's refreshing that we all agree on something.
It really is. Who allowed this movie to be made?
I mean,
A Coppola.
I'm torn. I don't ever want to watch this movie again. I'm kind of glad it was made and then I watched it.
Okay.
Right, because it's got some weird. I mean, Nick Cage's this movie would be utterly forgettable, completely forgettable if it wasn't for Nick Cage's character.
Absolutely. And one thing I don't think we brought up earlier is the main character was supposed to be played by Val Kilmer, but he dropped out to do some other movie that allegedly he was going to get paid more for or something. There was some like weird thing there.
Whoever Val Kilmer's agent is that got him out of this movie is the best.
He is. He saved his
His
career.
career.
In the early 90s. You know whose career wasn't saved, and I think I've been saving this for the entire podcast, Charlie Sheen. So let's go through a little bit of Charlie Sheen here, because this was in 1993, right?
All right.
Prior to Deadfall, Charlie Sheen had just got done filming Hot Shots Part 2. He was already filming The Chase and Major League 2.
Sweet.
Which means... prior to Deadfall, he did Men at Work, Major League, Young Guns, Wall Street, Platoon, and then he did this movie. And let me go back. He was filming The Chase in Major League 2 when this movie came out. Mm-hmm. He has not done a single thing since, other than 2.5 Men and a couple of Scary Movie cameos. Since this movie, Deadfall.
I disagree. He has done a lot of cocaine since then.
There's so much.
A lot of cocaine, a lot of domestic abuse, and a lot of rehab. Got him through from 1993 to the Charlie Sheen we know today. Is he in anything that...
No, he had that meltdown and got kicked off the TV show, and I don't think anything had, like...
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. If you go back and look at his IMDb history, it is crazy that right after he did this movie for Christopher Coppola, his career was pretty much done. At that point, he was just a dude that had tiger blood, because that's what brought him back onto the map, is that interview. I don't even think it was 2.5 Men. And we only know Charlie Sheen to this day because of some early 90s, late 80s, early 90s movies and all of his troubles, right?
So I guess that's true. I mean, I never watched that sitcom he was on, but I mean,
no.
Yeah, I guess it was these early movies. Yeah, that's a good point, man. I mean, he wasn't really in other things later on, was he?
He was not. I mean, I tried to find
like
some
it just
stuff.
stops.
Maybe an occasional cameo in like a sitcom or series or something. It wasn't even sitcom. Nobody would touch him because of all his troubles. And again, he was in and out every like 2 or 3 years. He was in jail for like domestic violence towards his partner. And it was a lot of wives. I didn't know this. He has had like 6 wives. And he's like beat them all.
This is taking a dark turn.
You made it sound like at a competition.
Let me talk about what's going to take a light turn. A lighter turn is casting Cage moving forward, because we are looking forward to. I'm not. I know Old Boy is looking forward to the next 2 films, because the next one that we're going to do, some of you probably have seen or remember from your childhood. Is it the white Driving Miss Daisy?
The white, yeah. Guarding Tess.
Guarding Tess.
I remember liking it as a kid.
I don't know
year
that I've seen it.
Yeah, it's probably not good. But what year was that?
It says 94.
94. Okay,
yeah.
So we're 12 years old. No, yeah, 12 years old.
We're 12 years old, and this is like PG-ish, so it's something our parents could throw in front of us. They may have went out to a Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and rented the actual tape and not a DVD.
Maybe.
And we were watching the VCR of Guarding Tess.
Guarding Tess.
Because up next after that is It Could Happen to You. That
I don't remember that.
Bridget
I
Fonda.
I know of it.
We were just talking about Bridget Fonda in the worst Tarantino film.
It sure was.
She's a love interest that they split the lottery ticket or whatever. And those are the next 2 Nick Cage movies that we don't remember. And I'm not looking forward to.
I have to say, Nick Cage's career all the way to this point is not a good track record. Like, how did this role not kill his career?
Dude, how did Vampire Kiss not kill his career? I mean, that was like a movie with a serious budget, and it made like $100,000 or something.
How did Time to Kill? How did what's the helicopter one? Firebirds. How did all these movies not kill his career?
I don't know.
It's the name and the heritage, right?
Okay.
And I think
If you
that's
say
what's
so.
carrying him through, because we're only like 4 movies away from the best actor win in the Academy Awards.
That's crazy. Okay.
I
Yeah.
need to go back and look, but I feel like it's like, oh no, he's had a couple good movies in a row. I was gonna say every like 4th movie is solid, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
but no, I mean Red Rock West was solid.
Mhm.
Wild
Right.
at Heart was solid.
Zandali.
Zandley is hot.
Uh,
I don't care. I'll rewatch Zandley.
Well, speaking of watching us, you guys can watch us each and every week on YouTube. These episodes actually come out on average a day before, where you're listening to us today, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Pod whatever, buckysbasement.com. Wherever you find us on social media, just say what's up.
Does anybody say what's up?
No one has said what's up.
The fuck?
Well, let's start saying what's up.
Yeah.
We're back each and every week with our episode and our series of Casting Cage. We guys hope you're enjoying it. All you Nick Cage lovers out there, we're doing this for you.
That's
as we
it.
do each and every time we jump on Bucky's Basement. We will see you next week.
Yeah. Tell your mama and them.